All right, today we're working on a Land Rover. Kind of looks like the state of New Hampshire, doesn't it? Okay, today we're replacing a Coil-Pack on a 4-liter Discovery. This is a 1996 Discovery 1. So there's no distributor cap on these. Instead, you have a crankshaft sensor and you have 4 Coil-Packs. Now, my Coil-Packs are old, and I said I'm not going to dig this thing out, only to replace one, than to have another, which is just as old, go bad a couple months later. So I bought the whole package, had it delivered for about $200. Now what I did, these new ones are nice. They come marked with what cylinder each of the spark plug towers is assigned to. Okay, so your wire is going to come in and connect there. However, they're not white. It's all black, which if it fills up with dirt and gets gooey, it's kind of hard to see. So I took some liquid paper and I coated each one and took an official rag and gave it a little wipe, and we've got a readable number left in liquid paper. So there you go. If you need to fix your Land Rover, make sure you have liquid paper. Make sure you have the right connector. That's important. Now, the tools you're going to need, you're going to need a 10 millimeter socket. It could be deep or it could not. It doesn't matter. Ratchet, an extension, and what comes in really handy is a magnetic socket. If you don't have magnetic sockets, go spring for a set. They are worth it. What you're also going to need is a little bit of dielectric grease. So let's go over here. What we're going to do is we're going to take a Q-tip, take a little bit of dielectric grease. We're going to put it inside each of these towers. We're just going to coat it. Now, that makes sure that if water gets in there, it's not going to corrode because your metallic surfaces will be covered in silicone grease. And when your wire connects in there, it'll have a sort of waterproof connection. Okay? It helps prevent corrosion and ensures a better connection. And also, without the corrosion, they don't get stuck, and you can remove them should you need to do any maintenance of any sort of repair. You can remove your wires without breaking them. So let's get on to where this is exactly on the vehicle. Okay, the video of me unbolting this for some reason did not record properly. You're going to see these spark plug wires connected. Some are vertical, some are right angle. Now, the reason why I personally am replacing these, you see how we have a nice high tower on these coils. This one here is degraded. It sure is degraded. It's non-existent. When I pulled the wire off, I had a whole bunch of old crumbly plastic inside. I was able to remove the crumbly plastic out of the end of the spark plug wire, and then I gooed this up with dielectric grease and reinstalled the wire. But if that happens to you, you need a new one. Just replace it. If you're on the road and you got to get home, use a lot of dielectric grease, and that will help insulate the connection, and it will prevent the spark from jumping out and coming to ground, in which case you'll have a dead miss and truck will run very poorly. Now, to get this out, it does look like it's way in there, and that you'll never if you lift it just a little bit, get it off of the studs, move it backwards. I'll show you on the other side. If you look straight down, you'll see the stud sticking up, and then you can see the bracket with the hole in it. Let me see if I can point it out to you. Not a lot of room. There's the bracket that lifts off of this stud. The stud's very small, so you only have to lift it up a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. And let me reposition the light. So it lifts up and back, And there we go. This side comes out. Doing this one hand. Tell you what, with two hands, it's actually a piece of cake. So I'm gonna put down the camera and I'm gonna lift it out. Well, let's try it this way. See if we can make a video of me getting this out of there. All right, so let's get the wires out of the way. Because they will interfere. There's not a ton of room, but there is enough. There is enough room to get it out of there. We've got a wiring room we got to work around. There we are. Move it over. Rotate a little bit. Oh, gonna fall. There we are. Now that wasn't so bad, was it? So here's our coil pack. 4 coils. Each has a pair of cylinders. So when this one fires, this cylinder is on its exhaust stroke. And so the electricity passes through. You get actually 2 sparks. But since 1 spark is happening in the exhaust stream, it really doesn't make a difference. And this is what we call a tower. And there's one that's broken off. Now, there's a number of things that can do this. But the number one is that a small defect allows the spark to come out the side. And that spark burns away just a little bit of the tower. And it works its way around and creates holes, and kind of looks like you bashed it up with a hammer, because you get a lot of little cracks. And then when you pull your spark plug wire off, you wind up pulling the plastic off. That's all loose. Now here is our brand new set of coils. Nice, pretty coil packs. Nice clean connector. Make sure all of your pins are straight, not bent. Now what's funny is they give you a set of directions here, but somehow I think they have to update their material, because this truck does not have a distributor cap. It does not have a distributor. That's why they call it this DIS, distributorless ignition. So we're going to put this back on. Something I noticed was both of these, now that they're out, they're set up to be mounted on 4 studs. And my truck has 3 studs, which is fine. I mean, you can mount it with 2 if you want. But we're going to put all 3 back on just to make sure it's nice and secure. This one here is not used. But so we'll use the other 3. Okay, here's a little tidbit of information that is handy to have. With the coil pack removed, you can see a connector here and a connector here. They break out of the harness. This harness comes down the back of the engine, and it goes over top of the transmission. And it has all of the wires for the speed sensor, the rear oxygen sensors, and the front oxygen sensors. These are the front oxygen sensors. Now, if you get an old truck that doesn't have these hooked up, or if you disconnect them and you forget which goes to which, because sometimes a wiring loom will migrate after you unhook it, it may pull back. Then you wind up with 2 connectors sitting looking at you that are the exact same. Well, the driver's side is the red one. Passenger side is the black one. These are oxygen sensor connectors, and they are vital. If you take your time, you snake your hand in there, then you will be able to get them very easily. But you got to take your time. It's not just stick your hand and bang and you got it. You got to snake your hand in underneath and disconnect it gently. Back to the star of the show, our coil pack. So I'm going to reinstall the coil pack, but I'm going to do it with 2 hands. Sorry for the angle. Well, now. Alrighty. Just getting the wires out of the way. On the passenger side, there's a fuel line that you have to be wary of. The bracket goes underneath the fuel line and onto the stud. I'm going to move the camera over here. So you got two fuel lines. This one and this one. This one will pop out pretty easily. And then there's a stud right there. See it? Right there. We're going to wiggle. All right, we're on it. Now we're going to go to the other side and position that one. Get this out of the way. Sitting on a wire. We don't want to crunch down on any wires. I think that's in. Let me see. Yep, take a look. You can see the stud sticking up through the bracket there. And I'm going to point them out. There's one right there, one right there. They're not real tall, which is good, so you don't have to lift the coil pack up very far. Here's where a magnetic socket comes in handy. It's held in tight, and we're going to put it on that stud. Here we go. Put it on that stud just a little bit. You don't have to use a torque wrench, just make sure they're nice and tight, hand tight. As usual, I forgot something. I forgot to take a Q-tip, take a little bit of grease, and put it in each tower. We're just going to put it in there, roll it around. That way there's a nice thin coating of grease inside there. I'm going to do that to every single one. So we've got all the towers greased up, and we're going to put our spark plug wires back on. Here's a little tidbit of information. See this wire? It's wrapped around and then retained with electrical tape. This is for my hour meter. A lot of times equipment is measured in how many hours you used it. So I put that on there so I can keep track of how many hours my engine was in use since its install. Now, there's a ton of other videos about that. Feel free to look at the selection of videos I have on my channel on doing all kinds of things to a Rover 4-liter. So here's my wiring harness, and here is the new plug. So I have enough room to where I can get it around and plug her in. There we go. Now let's fire this puppy up. There we go. All done. Always power brake your engine when you fix any component of your ignition system, because a weak ignition system will misfire when you power brake your engine. Like and subscribe, or I'll set this fella loose in your garage.